Hi there and welcome to this orientation for Philosophy of Psychology. That's Philosophy 125. This is a summer course that's going to be held in the Summer 1 session at BMCC. And I'm going to tell you everything about the assignments and the course and how things are organized and how we're going to proceed through the semester in this orientation. So the first important thing is that this is a asynchronous course. And that means that we don't meet online together at a set time. So there are no lectures where we're all attending the lecture together and we're all listening together. Instead, what we do is I will provide the readings. I will make them available online. I will provide lectures to go with the readings, and they will be provided on Brightspace as well. And you'll be able to go through the readings and the lectures at your own pace through the week. So each week there are readings and lectures to do, and there are assignments that must be completed based on the readings and lectures. So the course is organized, as we'll see, into a sort of weekly format where you have specific readings to do and then assignments to complete that week based on the readings. So it's important to know that it's not a correspondence course. It's not the kind of online course where you can complete the assignments in your own time as long as you finish by the end of the course. There are specific due dates for assignments that must be completed every week. So it's important to stay up to date with the course on a weekly basis. So it's a class where we're all learning from each other rather than just a sort of correspondence course where you're doing the work in your own time and submitting it in your own time. So that's the most important thing, to keep up with the work on a weekly basis and to do the assignments each week at the times that they're due. So let's break down and get a bit more specific about the organization of the course. So as I said, the course will run from 6 weeks, from Thursday, May the 28th until Tuesday, July the 7th. So the first, there are 3 modules, and the course is organized into 3 modules. The first module from May the 28th to June the 7th is based on theories of the soul, ancient, modern, and contemporary theories of the soul. From June the 8th to June the 21st, we'll be looking at the second module, which is based around psychology and society. So we'll be taking a look at psychology in its social context and looking at some of this kind of historical changes in psychology and how they help us understand what the discipline has become today. And then from June the 22nd until July the 5th, we'll be looking at the third module of moral psychology and rationality. And the final date to complete the final exam, which is based on the third module, is July the 7th. So one thing to note here is that when we start, we start with a shortened week. So we start on May the 28th, which is a Thursday. But there are still the regular assignments and readings and lectures due that week. So the more you can do to make sure you're ready to hit the ground running on May the 28th, the better things will be, because we're going to start the assignments on that day. And the assignments will run through the Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday of that week and of every subsequent week. So in the other weeks, you'll have time in the early parts of the week to assimilate the readings and the lectures before starting the assignments. So just something to note: we start the course with a bit of a sort of midweek. So like I said, anything you can do to get a jump on the readings for that week would help you to prepare for the assignments. Okay, so 2 important documents in the course are the syllabus and the course map, and both are posted in the content area on Brightspace. So the syllabus has my information, the course description. It has all the information about the assignments and how much they're worth. And it has the weekly breakdown of the course content as well. So take a close look at the syllabus, and if you need my information, that's on the syllabus as well. The course map is very useful because it has all of the dates for all of the assignments and everything that we'll be doing in the course. So as you'll see, it's organized into weeks and dates, and then the topic that we're looking at this week, that particular week, and then the readings, the video lectures, or any other resources we're looking at that particular time, and then the weekly tasks with their due dates, and the quizzes and essays finally that might be due in any particular week. So it gives the due dates for every assignment. It tells us what readings and lectures are relevant that week and the topics. So if you're ever in doubt about a due date or where we are or when something is due, the place to look is the course map. And that will tell you all you need to know in terms of how we're going to progress throughout the course and what the course is going to look like on a sort of weekly basis. Okay, so the weekly course content. So each week I will provide content that you will go through at your own pace that week. But I think it makes most sense to spend the first part of the week dealing with the course content. So there are usually no assignments from Monday to Wednesday. So that's a good time to spend doing the readings, which are provided on Brightspace. They're in PDF format. And the video lectures, which are on YouTube and linked in Brightspace as well. So if you complete those things in the first part of the week, you'll be in a good place to complete the assignments that will start on Thursday and run for the rest of the week. So it's a good idea to spend the early part of the week looking at the course content and trying to assimilate as much as possible so that you are in a position for completing the assignments later in the week. Okay, so the weekly tasks will be based on the readings and the lectures for that particular week. So do your best to assimilate as much as you can from the reading, to gather as much as you can, and to learn as much as you can from the material and the content. And then we'll go through the weekly tasks. So each week there will be a markup assignment. Hypothesis is the name of the software that we use in Brightspace. So it's markup or annotation assignments where we mark up a text together, and that's worth 15% of the grade. The discussion assignment, which is a discussion post, a discussion board assignment, is worth 10% of the grade. There's also a voice thread task where you will upload a voice file of yourself talking in response to a prompt, and that will be 15% of the grade. And finally, the quiz, which is 15% of the grade, and that will be the last thing to complete at the end of the week on Sunday. So the other 45% of the course is 3 exams that I'll talk about a little later on. But first, let's go through and get into a bit more detail on each of these weekly tasks. So the markup assignment, or the annotation assignment, is an exploratory assignment where we'll be marking up a text together. So for the markup assignment, you're required to do 3 things. You're required to post a comment about a section of the reading. So the markup assignment is basically, we'll be looking at a text. It might be the reading, it might be one of the readings for that particular week. It might be something different. It depends on the week. But whatever the text is, you'll post a comment. So you'll you'll select a part of the text, and you'll be able to post a comment about that part of the text. And your comment should have a kind of exploratory feel to it. You're making a connection with something. This reminds me of something else. Or you're sort of asking why do they use this word? This seems to mean something else. What's the point of talking about it in these terms? Maybe you'll give an example of what the author is talking about to help make sense of what they're saying. So those are the kind of things to think about when you do the comment post. And secondly, you'll ask a question, so you'll highlight another part of the text. It could be a word or a sentence, and you'll ask a question about that part of the reading. So what is it that sort of, is it something that you want more information? Is it something you're confused about? So you can ask a question based on how you're responding to that part of the reading. And the third thing to do is to respond to a classmate's comment or question. And here, as long as your response is more than I agree, I disagree, and you spell out your thinking and give a sort of more substantive response, that's all you need to do for the markup assignment. So those 3 tasks. It's important that, like I said, it's an exploratory assignment. So I'm not looking for sort of essay length analyses of the material. I'm not looking for AI generated posts here. The point of the markup assignment is for us to explore the reading together and our responses to it. So as long as you keep it with that exploratory tone, you don't need to prove that you've understood the text or that you know everything about it, because we're just trying to read it and make sense of it. So approach it in that exploratory sort of open-minded sort of approach to it, and make sure that you sort of keep that attitude when you're sort of posting about it, and that's what we're looking for on the markup. So it's a collective exercise in sort of making sense of the text. You'll be able to see other people's posts, and they'll be able to see yours and respond to them, and so on. So you can respond to as many as you like, of course, but as long as you do the 3 tasks, you'll get maximum points for the assignment. Okay, so the markup assignment is due on Thursday. The discussion post is usually due on Saturday. So in the discussion post, your task is to post your thoughts in the discussion forum in response to the written prompt or question. So I will provide the written prompt or question for the discussion post, and then you will have 2 tasks. The first is to write a post in response to the question or prompt, and post must be 100 words or more, and as long as they're 100 words or more and about the material and responding to the prompt, you'll do well in the discussion post. And the second is to respond substantively to a classmate's post. So in your response, make sure you do more than just say I agree or disagree. Again, spell out your reasoning and your thinking when you do that response. And so those are the 2 things to do for the discussion post. Like I said, they're due on Saturday. Just be aware the last week of the course, week 6, Saturday is July the 4th, so I've moved the discussion post to the Friday, July the 3rd, so there are no assignments due on July the 4th itself, if anybody's sort of observing the holiday. So just be aware of that, but otherwise they will be due on at the end of Saturday. Okay, so the VoiceThread assignment, your task is to upload a voice response to the VoiceThread video prompt. So I will provide the prompt, and you'll see in the prompt that I'm talking about the content and posing a question about it. And in response, you'll have 2 tasks. So the first is to respond to the prompt with a voice message. And here, make sure you explain your ideas fully. Your voice message can be sort of 2 minutes or so is fine. You don't need to sort of you don't need to talk for longer than that, but you can talk for as long as you wish. If you have more to say and you want to say more about the topic, you can say as much as you want, but sort of 2 minutes is fine for the voice response. So you'll record your voice and then you'll upload it to the VoiceThread assignment. And the second thing is to respond to a classmate's voice message. And here again, so you do a substantive message that's more than just saying I agree or I disagree, but you'll spell out your thinking. And here your response can be either voice or text. So you can do another voice message, or in your response to the classmate, you can do a text message if you prefer doing it that way. So the VoiceThread tasks are due on Friday of each week at the end of the day. All right, and finally the quiz will consist of 10 questions that are mostly multiple choice. And the quiz is based on the readings and lectures for that particular week. And it's due at the end of the week, so which in this class is Sunday. So they're due on Sunday. You'll usually have 30 minutes to complete the quiz and to answer the 10 questions. So make sure you've done the reading, looked at the lecture, and done the other assignments first, and then you'll be in a good place to do the quiz, the weekly quiz, which is based on all the other weekly material. Okay, so aside from the weekly assignments, the other component of the course is the exams. Excuse me. So at the end of each 2-week module, there's an exam to test your knowledge of what you've learned in the course. And the exams require essay-type responses. And here what I mean is not essay formatting or essay organization, but just explaining your ideas by writing in paragraphs. It doesn't have to be, it's not going to be as well structured and thought out as a take-home essay, obviously because you're doing it in time conditions and you're doing it online. So it's not about organization, it's not about format. I'm just looking for your ideas and that you're explaining your ideas clearly. So each exam, and there are 3 exams at the end of each 2-week module. Sorry, there's an exam at the end of each 2-week module, so 3 exams in total. And each exam is worth 15% of the grade. Okay, so I will have office hours on Wednesday, 4 to 5:30 on Zoom, and Friday, 4 to 5:30 on Zoom as well. If you need to reach out, the Zoom link is on Brightspace. And if you want to come at a specific time, you can email me, and I'll send you the link as well by email, and we can make a specific time if you want to do that. But I'll hold office hours every week at these times. And finally, good luck and reach out if you need anything. My email is rfoster@bmcc.cuny.edu, and my phone number. Both of these are on the syllabus as well. So if you run into any issues, or if you want to talk about philosophy or anything related to the course, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm the coordinator for the philosophy program here at BMCC. So if you want to talk about the program, or if you want to know anything about it, or if you're just interested in philosophy, then reach out and we should talk. So finally, good luck, and I'll see you all online.